Be on it. Okay. Good morning to everyone. Today we are planning to take the class on a blackboard. Hopefully this will be effective. In the last class we have started with the strain energy of the spring. So today we will be seeing the same thing, how to calculate the strain energy of a spring. Strain energy is the internal energy which is stored because of the deformation within the elastic limit. So if a body is being stretched within the elastic limit, the strain energy is being induced in the body. So what will be the mathematical equation for the strain energy? We will be just finding out. So what I will do is I will consider a string. Okay. So one end is fixed. So this is a spring here. So what I will do is which has a stiffness K. Which has its stiffness K. So I'll apply a load F. I'll apply a load F for this particular spring. So after application of the load, what will be the shape of the spring will be? So this spring starts to elongate. Okay, this spring will start to elongate. So it was this initial point. Now it has reached this particular point. So from this to this, I will call this as a deflection. I will call it as a deflection X. Okay, this will be the deflection of the spring. Okay, so if I try to plot what will be the relationship between force and displacement, I will be getting a graph like this. So if I try to plot the graph, okay, so this is the force which is in this direction, and this is the displacement which is in this particular direction. So when I take a spring and try to stretch it, so how much force I am applying, that much will be the deflection. So force will be always directly proportional to the displacement. How much force, how much magnitude force I am applying, in that particular way the displacement will happen. So what I will do is, I know the relationship, so it will be always linear. Okay, it will be always linear. So how to calculate from this graph the strain energy? So basically, whenever we have a linear curve or a linear relationship, linear plot, area under that plot will be constituting the strain energy. So what I will do is, for this particular case, I will just draw a projected line. I just draw a projected line here. So area under this, whatever the area is there, under this particular triangle will be the strain energy. So this is called as strain energy. So area under this triangle is called as strain energy. So what it means? So area U, that is strain energy U, is the area of the triangle. Area of the triangle. So what I will do is I will calculate the area. So I know the magnitude. So this is X. This will be the force of certain magnitude. So what will be the area of the triangle? Half into breadth into the apex. Apex means the height. Okay. So half into height is F, breadth is X. So half into F into X will be the strain energy. So still we can modify this particular value of strain energy here. Okay. So how we can do is, we know that here in this particular spring, force is directly proportional to X. Force is directly proportional to X. That is, force is directly proportional to the displacement. So if I remove this proportionality constant, I can replace the proportionality constant by a parameter called as K. That is called as the stiffness of the material. So what does F indicates here? F is nothing but K into X. So if I substitute that, U will be equal to half into F is K into X, and already X is there. So what I do is I write it here. So U K into x square. So this will be the strain energy of the body. So K is the stiffness of the material and x is the displacement of the spring. So this is how we will calculate the strain energy of the spring. I hope you got to know about this. Okay, so you can just go through this figure. So this will be the now I will be seeing how to calculate the strain energy for of a bar. Okay, so basically in our particular syllabus we will be doing the analysis of spring, bar and beam. Okay, so we will be using these three strain energies, that is the strain energy of a bar, spring and as well as the beam. So how to calculate the strain energy of a bar? So if you assume, if you just imagine the practical how the bar looks, it is a 3D object. Okay, so whenever I apply a force on this, it starts elongating. Okay, so it starts elongating. So after the loading, so this bar will be extending certain length. Okay, certain length. So if I see what is the change, I will name it as x. I will be naming it as x or dx. So that will be the change in the length. Okay. So from this, how can I calculate the strain energy? So if I plot the graph, which is a basic graph, you have already done this. So if I plot a graph of stress versus strain, so you have done in your mom lab the stress strain graph. Okay, so in a stress strain graph, whenever we are doing the plot, you know that within the elastic limit, the line remains the same. The stress is directly proportional to strain by Hooke's law. So you know that within the elastic limit it is same. Then it goes on changing like this. Okay, so this will be the graph of this. So as I told you that strain energy exists within the elastic limit. If it goes to the plastic zone, the stress energy will be dissipated from the body. Okay, so I will be using this line. Okay, this is the linearity between the stress and strain. I will be using, and I will be trying to calculate the strain energy of this particular body. So how you did it for spring, the same thing will be applying it for the bar also. So what we do is we just draw a projection line. So x axis will be your strain, y axis will be the stress. So area under this particular curve or particular triangle is called as the strain energy. It's called as the strain energy. Strain energy. So how to calculate that? So U is equal to half into, okay, so this is length and this is, this is height and this is breadth. Okay, so now you have written this. So just imagine what is the unit of strain energy or energy. So basically strain energy is given as Newton meter. Okay, strain energy is given as Newton meter. So whenever you are writing any equations, it should be balanced. Okay, so you have to check whether it is balanced or not. So if you see this particular equation, it is sigma into epsilon. Okay, so sigma is known as a stress. So it has a unit of Newton per meter square. Newton per meter square, and epsilon is being a strain. Strain doesn't have any unit, so there is no unit for this. So if you see here, left hand side it is Newton meter. Okay, it is Newton meter, and right hand side it is Newton per meter square. So now I have to balance this equation. Okay, so I have to get Newton meter. For that, what we will do? The simple is we will be multiplying the volume. So if I multiply the volume, so volume will be meter cube. Volume will be meter cube. So these gets cancel out, and you will be getting Newton meter and Newton meter. Okay, so this will be the general equation for strain energy. This is just a general equation for a strain energy. We have to still modify this equation because whenever we are calculating the strain energy, so in order to know the individual strain energy, so if I assume a small part here and through this part I want to integrate it whole. Okay, I will be calculating the strain energy for whole. So I have just calculated here in this particular small element. I will be calculating here. So I want to calculate for whole system. So what I will do is I will use the integration method. So U will be integration. Okay, if I assume a small volume, so it will be 0 to V half sigma epsilon into dV. So I will be writing in this particular format. So it will be strain energy is equal to integration 0 to volume half sigma epsilon into dV. So but in our FEM, what we are doing is, according to your syllabus, we will be doing 1D analysis. We are not much concentrating on 2D and 3D analysis. We will be concentrating on 1D analysis. Already I told you, bar can be solved as a 1D element. Okay, one dimensional analysis. How we are thinking? So if I take this as a particular bar problem, so what I will do is I will model or I discretize this particular body into a line element. What is the assumptions which we are taking to convert this is, I am interested to calculate the displacement only in one direction. For example, if I draw the coordinate axis here, x, this is y and this is z, I am interested in calculating the stresses only in this particular direction. In that case, what we will do is, we will assume area to be constant. So I can convert this particular problem into 1D analysis. If I want to do it for one dimensional analysis, and just convert this problem. So how I can convert? I will just draw the integration half sigma epsilon. I will write it as it is. Now the volume can be converted into area into length. Okay, because we are considering area to be constant here. So I will write just area as a constant term A. Okay, what is the changing term here? The length is the changing parameter, and which is in which direction? X direction. So the changing parameter will be dx. Changing parameter will be dx. Okay, so what will be the limits? So the limits for this length is, this point I will take it as a starting point, which is 0, and this point I will take it as an end point, which is L. Okay, or I will take it as a small L. So it will be 0 to L. So if I want to do 1D analysis, and if I want to generate the strain energy for one dimensional analysis, I will be using this particular equation. So similarly, I can just modify this further. So from your basics of MOM, so what we can do is, this is a parameter called as strain. Okay, so what I can best to do is, U sigma is equal to, from your basics of MOM, sigma, as we are doing 1D analysis, sigma will be epsilon will be change in length of x to the original length. So what I do is, the change I can write it as, whatever is the change along x axis, I will write it as u. Whatever change is in y, I will write it as v. Whatever the change is in z, I will write it as w. Okay, so what is the change which is happening? It is happening u. So I will be writing it as du by dx. I hope you have gone through this equation in your third semester. Okay, du by dx. So what I will do is I just simplify it. So u will be half, okay, sigma a du by dx into dx. Okay, so there will be an integration parameter 0 to L. So this will be the strain energy for a bar element. This will be the strain energy for a bar element, that is half into sigma a du by dx into dx, where I've just replaced epsilon with respect to du by dx. So this equation you have to use whenever we are trying to solve a bar problem. Okay, I hope it is clear. What we have done, we have taken a bar element, we have subjected it to a load. There was a displacement x which has happened along the x direction. So then what we did, we plot the stress strain curve within the elastic limit. What we did is we have just drawn the stress is directly proportional to strain, and through that equation we have calculated the strain energy. So then what we did is, as we have calculated the strain energy with respect to volume, but we have to do the analysis with respect to one dimensional. So for that case, we assumed the area to be constant. So we have assumed the area to be constant, and the change is only the x parameter, the length parameter. So we have just integrated from 0 to L with respect to dx. So finally, one more simplification which we can do is the epsilon part. So epsilon, from our previous study we know that it is du by dx. So we have just replaced that parameter, and then we got this final equation which will be the strain energy. Okay, I hope you got about this strain energy for a bar. Okay, next we will be seeing strain energy for a beam. Okay. Okay, we'll be studying the strain energy for a beam. So how to calculate the strain energy, which is you have already calculated for the bar. So how to calculate it for a strain energy for a beam. So now we'll be seeing how to calculate it. So we already know the bar equation which we have done, which is u is equal to half integration 0 to L. Okay. Sigma into a du by dx d into dx. This was the strain energy equation for the bar. Okay, so now we'll be going back one equation, that is which we have calculated in the previous one. So which was sigma into epsilon into a into dx. This was the equation which we have calculated. So now we will be modifying the same equation for this particular beam. How to modify this? I'll tell you. Okay. So if I consider a beam, okay. So beam will be, if I want to model a beam with a line element. So I will just drop it out here. So u is equal to half into sigma into 0 to L stress into strain into A into dx. This is for bar, which we have calculated. This is for bar element. So when I go for a beam element, see here, this is a beam. Okay. So if I want to model it in a 1D, this is a beam. So when I try to apply a load on this, how the deformation takes place? The deformation takes place in this particular fashion. So it is not just linearly bending, it is bending in a curved form. So whenever a curved form comes, there will be 2 degrees of freedom. I have already told you. For a beam, you will be having 2 degrees of freedom. So I will be modeling it by 1D element only. But whatever the nodes are there here, the nodes will be having 2 degrees of freedom. That is, one is the movement along the y-axis, and one more is the rotation. Unless it is not rotating, you will not get the curved shape. So here the analysis will be one-dimensional analysis only with 2 degrees of freedom. One-dimensional analysis degrees of with 2 degrees of freedom. So now when 2 degrees of freedom will come, you can't use this particular equation, because whenever we were solving for a bar problem, what we used to take is we take the area as a constant and the variable was only 1 degree of freedom. Okay, but what we are doing now is the variable is 2 degrees of freedom. So now the area also will change, because as it is a 2 degree of freedom, length is 1 degree, these are other 2 degrees, the height and the width, they will also change. So for that case, for a beam, the strain energy equation can be written as integration 0 to L sigma epsilon dA into dx, dA into dx. So we will be writing this particular format, dA into dx. So now we will do some modifications. So once again what I will do is I will convert the strain here. So strain I will not write it in du by dx, I will just use the general principle. What is the general principle for strain? Using Hooke's law, stress is directly proportional to strain. So stress is equal to Young's modulus into strain. Strain is stress by Young's modulus. So I will be just substituting that equation into the strain energy, strain value. So what I will do is I will just substitute that. So integration of 0 to L, okay, or you can take it as L, sigma epsilon will be sigma upon E into dA into dx, into dA into dx. So what it becomes now? It becomes u is equal to half into integration 0 to L sigma square upon E into dA into dx. Sigma square upon E into dA upon E into dA into dx. So what we will do now is we will use one of the basic equations, because if you see here, the stress induced in the beam is bending. Okay, the stress induced in the beam is called as bending stress. So I can just modify this bending stress into a simple equation. So M by I is equal to sigma by Y. You know this basic equation. Okay, M by I is equal to sigma by Y. That is the basic bending equation. So if I take sigma one side and substitute all the other term on the other side, it becomes My by I. My by I. So what I will do is I just substitute that particular equation. So u is equal to half into integration 0 to L. So sigma square will be m square y square divided by E I square into dA into dx, into dA into dx. Okay. So later we have got this particular equation, we can still modify this. Okay, how to modify this is, so if you see this parameter, if you see this particular parameter, that is y square into dA, y square into dA. So what does this y square into dA means? This, if you see from your previously bending moment equation or deflection of beams, y square into dA constitutes a parameter called as I. I is nothing but area moment of inertia. Area moment of inertia. Okay, this is called as area moment of inertia. So you have already studied this. So if you just see the mathematical format, y square will be meter square, dA will be meter square. So meter square will be meter raised to 4. So I is also meter raised to 4. So what we are doing is we are just substituting that particular equation here. So what I will do is, so u will be equal to half into integration 0 to L m square I divided by EI square into dx. So what happens here is this I and this I square gets cancelled. So you end up with 1 by 2 integration 0 to L m square divided by EI into d square. Okay, so this will be the dx. This will be the basic equation. So one more simplification can also be done from this, because we need to simplify it as much as possible, where we can terminate most of the terms and we will be getting a differential equation. So if you see from a differential equation, for a beam, in that for a beam, you will be coming across a parameter called as bending moment written. If you do that, if you just consider deflection of beam subject by double integration method, we will come up across the parameter m, that will be of d square y by dx square into ei. Okay, so from the deflection of beams, we will come across a parameter called as m is equal to d square y by dx square into ei. So what we will do is we will just substitute this m here. See here how it has come. You need to refer that deflection of beams by integration method. So where you need to calculate the bending moment equation or the bending stress equation through a integration method. When you do this integration method, we will be coming across the equation where bending moment is double differentiation with respect to the EI. Okay, so I'll just substitute that value. So what you will be ending up is half into integration 0 to L. So what I will do is 1 by EI, I'll keep it as it is. M square will be d square y by dx square the whole square into EI the whole square into dx. Okay, EI the whole square into dx. So what happens here is EI square just cancels out. So what you will end up here is u is equal to EI by 2 integration 0 to L d square y by dx square the whole square into dx. Okay, so this will be the strain energy equation for a beam. Okay, this will be the strain energy equation for the beam. So I'll just repeat once again what we have done. We have considered a beam, okay, and we have modeled it in 1D. So when we modeled it in 1D, as we already have studied the bar problem. So in a bar problem, what we did is one-dimensional analysis with 1 degree of freedom, where length was the only parameter. Now here what happens here is, in a beam, whenever I am trying to analyze the bending or the deflection of the beam doesn't bend linearly. It is having a curvature. Okay, why the curvature happens here is, the node has 2 degrees of freedom here. The node has 2 degrees of freedom. One is the vertical downwards and one more is the rotation about this. If I take this as a z here, rotation about the z axis. So it will be having 2 degrees of freedom. One dimensional analysis only, but the node will be having 2 degrees of freedom. So I cannot use the bar equation, that is half integration 0 to L sigma into epsilon a into dx, where a was a constant term. Here a cannot be a constant term because it has a 2 degrees of freedom. So we did it dA into dx. Okay, so then what we did is we just substituted what is strain is in terms of stress upon Young's modulus. Substituted, we got sigma square there. So sigma square, what we did, we calculated, we already know what is sigma. Sigma was my by I. We just substituted it, and y square into dA, we calculated it as moment of inertia, that is area moment of inertia, and then come up with this particular thing here. This was the solution. So from this differential equation, we got m is equal to d square y by dx square into EL. Okay, so if I substitute that, I'll end up with this particular equation. So now this is the strain energy for a beam. So in the next, we will be studying the work potentials. Already we studied all the three strain energies. Now we will be studying the work potentials. Okay. Okay. Now we will be studying about what is work potential. Okay. In the previous explanation, we have told in the PPT that we will be studying a concept called as principle of minimum potential energy. So if a body is at a minimum potential energy state, then it will be called as a body to the near equilibrium position. So whenever we are trying to calculate any displacements or any parameters, the sum of the forces should be 0. Okay, the sum of the forces acting on the body should be 0. It might be a applied force or it might be a restrictive force. So in order to make it 0, we have to make it in an equilibrium position. We have to bring the body to a equilibrium position. So in order to bring back to a equilibrium position, so we use the concept called as principle of minimum potential energy. If a body reaches to a minimum potential energy state, then I can call the body to be in an equilibrium position. So basically, I have told you that whenever we are reaching to an equilibrium position state, the strain energy, which is an energy induced in the body because of the deformation, and work potential is the work done on the system by the force. It is the work done on the system by the force. So should be, if I take the difference out of them, should be very less, or it should be near to the 0 value. It should be near to the 0 value or minimum value. Okay, that will be the remaining potential energy which is left in the body after the strain energy and work potential which have done their work. Okay, so till now we have studied what is the strain energy, how to calculate the strain energy for all the three elements or the three different components. So work potential is nothing but the work done on the system. So only whenever we are writing that strain energy, the principle of minimum potential energy, we take minus work potential as negative because it is the work done on the system, okay, by the external force. Okay, so now I will be just writing what is work potential. So work potential nothing but the work done. Okay, it is nothing but force into displacement or force into displacement of a body, force into displacement. Okay, so now we need to understand force into displacement. So how many types of forces are there in nature? We need to know first how many forces are there in the nature. So overall, you know that there is a push, there is a pull. Okay, so there is a gravitational force, there is an electromagnetic force. So there are different types of forces available in the nature. So these forces are basically segregated into three major forces. Three major forces. One force is called as the body force. One force is called as the body force. Second is called as the surface bar traction force. Okay, it is called as a traction force. Third is called as a point load. Third one is called as a point load. So in nature we have three types of forces. First is the body force, surface or traction force. Then is called as the point load. So what we are doing is we need to understand here what are these three different forces. How does they mean the three different forces? So for example, body force, I'll give an example of a stone falling from the space. So if I take for example, if I take this chalk holder and if I just leave it, okay, what will be the consequence? It will just go and fall on the ground. Why it has to fall on the ground? Why it is not staying still here? Okay, the thing is, it is the force, that is a gravitational force which is pulling the this particular chalk holder into the ground. So how does it look if I keep it in space like this and if I see the whole body is experiencing the gravitational force. Okay, the whole body is experiencing the gravitational force. So in our engineering knowledge, what we call it as the whole volume of the body will be experiencing that particular force. Every end of this chalk will be experiencing the same force. So such type of force is called as a body force. Okay, so body force is nothing but force experienced by the volume of the body. Volume of the body. Okay, I hope it is clear. If I take the magnets and try to connect them, if I just hold them, okay, so unlike poles attract each other, so they'll try to attract. When they are attracting, you can feel that the whole body is trying to attract the other object, which means that the whole body is exhibiting that body force. Okay, so that is an example of a body force. So for example, now we will go to the term called as surface or traction force. So what do you mean by a surface or a traction force? For example, if I am just keeping a hand on this particular board, okay, so I am just pushing this board, so which means I am applying certain force on this particular board. So whenever I am applying a certain force on this particular board, so the board has a larger area. Okay, it is a larger area, but on a specific area I am trying to apply the force. Okay, such type of force are called as the surface force or a traction force. Okay, so the force applied on a part of a body is called as a surface force. Okay, so I hope most probably whatever the application of load is happening in this practical world is called as a surface force only. Okay, so apart from the nature forces which are there, like gravitational force, magnetic force and such cases, most of the forces are categorized as a surface force. Okay, the thing comes finally the point load. So the point load, if you have seen in your textbook, in your mom's subject, a bar is being subjected to an axial load. You will be just indicating at a particular point an arrow which shows that there is a load acting. Okay, so the such type is called as a point load. Load acting on a point of a body. Okay, so what is this practical logic of this is, there is nothing called as point load in this particular world. Okay, there is nothing called as point load in this particular world. In this world, every body will be every load will be a surface force only. Because if I am just putting a pin and trying to pierce this board, there is the pin also has a certain surface area. Okay, so that will be a surface force only. But why we are dealing with point load? See, what happens here is surface area, whenever we are trying to analyze the surface area and try to calculate the surface area, we have to algebraically summate all the forces which are applied or integrate it. Okay, so it will be very difficult to analyze for simple problems. So what we do is we take one concentrated load on if a body is, for example, if a body is being subjected to the surface force like this. Okay, so instead when I try to solve this body, I have to integrate this whole area, how much it is applied, how much load it is being applied. So in turn, what I will do is I will take an algebraic sum and I will give one load which will be equivalent to this particular surface force. Okay, one particular load, that load I will call it as a point load. Just it is for theoretical study. Just for your theoretical study, for ease of study, we will not consider the surface forces. We will be taking it as a point load. Okay, but if a body really is under the surface force or under the body force, we need to know what will be its work potential. What will be its work potential? Or how the work is done? How to what we call it as how to write it in an equation form, the body force. We need to just think over it. Okay, so first we'll start with the work potential for the body force. Okay, so the body force. See, simple it is. Work potential means work done on the system. So work is done on the system by the force. So you have a basic equation which is called as force into displacement. Okay, now understand this. How to write a body force? Body force, you have already experienced the self weight of the body. Okay, the self weight of the body. In your mom subject you have studied what will be the deformation of an object because of its self weight. You have already studied that. Where you used to take the parameter called as density. Density was Newton per mm square or meter square. Newton per mm square or meter square. In such cases, what was the thing? There used to be only density. Density is nothing but the load upon volume. It is the body force which is acting on a particular body. Okay, so this is nothing but the body force which is being given. So such type of force, if it is being given, how to calculate the work potential of that particular body? So work potential, basically, if I consider a body force F, so F of the body force will have the components. We have to write the components. So if a body is being subjected by the body force downwards, okay, so this is the ground, so the body is being subjected to a gravitational force. So the force, basically, if I take at this particular point, the force can be written in three different directions. One is along the if I take the coordinate axis, like this is x, this is y, and this is z, one can be written it in terms of y, x, and this is z. The force can be resolved in the vector form. The force can be resolved in all the three directions. That is fx, fy, fz. Okay, the force can be resolved in this particular directions. So now, what will be the displacement? Displacement can also be, u is just a general displacement term. U can also be having a displacement. Because of these three forces, I will be having three displacements. That will be u, v, w. U, v, w. Well, assume that the forces are in three different directions, and the displacement will also be in three different directions. So what I will do is now, I will try to write the work potential for this. So work potential, I can write it as, what is the basic formula for work potential? It is force into displacement. So what I will do is, I will write force in the x parameter, that is fx. What is its displacement along x? It will be u plus f into y, into v plus f into z into w. I'll try to write like this. So whether it is being balanced or not, we need to check. So if I see this fx, fy, fz are body forces. Fx, fy, fz are the body forces which are written in terms of Newton per meter square, which is the force experienced by the body or by the volume. So if you see, it is Newton per meter cube, not square, it is Newton per meter cube. So this will be Newton per meter cube, and what is u? U is the displacement. I will write it as meter. So what will end up here? You will end up in Newton per meter cube into meter is there. So you will end up in Newton per meter square. But what is the formula for work potential? What is the unit for work potential? It is Newton meter. It is Newton meter. So how we will do it? You will multiply the volume here. You will multiply the volume here. If you multiply the volume, force into displacement into volume, if you do it, you will be getting it as Newton meter. So this is how to write the work potential in a algebraic form. So same thing, if I want to write the work potential in a integral form. If I want to write the work potential in this integral form, how I can write here is, I'll do the integration. What is the parameter which is changing here? The volume. the volume will be changing. In the sense, you have to take the integration throughout the volume. So what I'll do is I'll write it as 0 to V. Okay. So I'll combine now. U is the displacement of, or force is the applied force for all the three directions. So what I'll do is I'll write U. I'll write it as a transpose. I'll explain why I'm writing it as transpose. Then F is nothing but the body force into D. So this will be the general equation for work potential. Okay, for a body force. Work potential for a body force. So this is how you have to write it. So now why I am writing it as in a transpose, transpose form is we are using matrix multiplications here. Okay, we are using matrix multiplication. One should be row wise and one should be column wise. Unless if both are in row wise or column wise, you will not be getting the correct equation. One should be in a row wise and one should be in a column wise. Then only you will be getting the solution, because whatever the solutions which we are doing in the later FEM cases, those will be the matrix multiplication. For that case, we will be using the transpose here. So U transpose into F into dV. If I do it, I will be getting the work potential for body force. So this is an important equations. You need to remember this equation. Okay. So now we will go for the surface force. So we will go for the surface force. How to write for the surface force? The simple same logic will be applying here. Surface force. It is the just rub it out. It is surface force. Okay. So I will drop it out. See, it is the force experienced or it is the force applied on a surface area. Okay, so I'll tell you how the things work. So if I have a body here, okay, so I just take a small portion of this whole body which is having a area ds. I'll try to apply the load. Okay, so whenever you are trying to apply the load, always the force parameter will be distinguished in three different directions. So I'll just superimpose it. So if I apply a load here, whenever I am applying the load will be superimposed in three different directions. Okay, so now the surface force or traction force, I can call it as a traction force. I will name them as T. You should not get confused with the body force and surface force. This will be Tx, this will be Ty, and this will be Tz. Okay, which is acting on a small surface area ds. So if I take T as a general force, so it can be resolved in Tx, Ty, and Tz. Similarly, U is the general displacement. Because of application of Tx load, I will be getting a U displacement. Because of Ty, I will be getting V displacement. Because of Tz, I will be getting W displacement. Okay, so these are the three displacements which I will be getting. So next, what I will do is I will be using the work potential equation. So work potential is nothing but force into displacement. So force into displacement. If I do it here, so for example, I will write now work potential. So work potential is nothing but force into displacement. This is Tx. This is Tx, which will be giving you U displacement, plus Ty, which will be giving you V displacement, plus Tz, which will be giving you W displacement. Okay. So now just imagine what is happening here. Okay. What is work potential equation? It is unit. It is Newton meter. It is Newton meter. So now what is the surface force? What is the, for example, what is the example of a surface force is the pressure. Whatever the pressure we are giving, force on a unit area, we call it as a pressure. So that will be acting on a surface area. So basically any surface force is written as Newton per meter square. Newton per meter square. So into meter, if I do it, what happens? This gets cancelled and you will end up with Newton per meter. But what I require Newton meter. So what I will do is I will just multiply the surface area ds. I will be just multiplying the surface area ds. So this becomes meter square here. So meter into meter square, meter square upon meter will be just meter. So it will be end up with Newton meter. So what I do is work potential. I can write it in now integral form. So that is integration 0 to S. I will take it as S as the surface area. T, so U transpose T into ds. U transpose T into ds. So this is how we will be calculating the body, the traction force work potential. I hope it is clear for you guys. So finally we will go for the point load. How to calculate the work potential for point load? Simple, just substitution is there. We will be getting the equation here. Okay, force applied upon a, so it will be taking it as a point load. Point load. Force applied on a point. Force applied on a point. So for example, if I take this as a body and just on this particular point I will be applying the load. Okay, it might be an angular load or a straight load. It will be resolved in components. So for example, I will just superimpose here. We will be having Px, Py and Pz. See, it will be resolved components. So I am not telling, see sir, you have shown it in a downward direction, you have to write only Py. No, in general, it will be having the three directions, Px, Py and Pz. In which direction you are applying, that will be the displacement you will be getting. Okay, I am writing a general equation for work potential. So if I take P as a parameter for point load, so what will be the components? Px, Py, Pz. These are the three forces which you will be getting. So what are the equivalent displacements? U you will be getting for Px, you will be getting U. For Py you will be getting V. For Pz you will be getting W. Okay. So now you have to write what is work potential. So work potential, I will be writing it as Px, which will be constituting U, plus Py, which will be constituting V, plus Pz, which will be constituting W. Okay, now just see the equation, whether it is balanced or not. What is the work potential unit? It is Newton meter. What is a point load? It is just a load acting on a particular point, which will be given it as Newton. Directly it is given it as Newton. What is the displacement unit? It is meter. So you need not to do any integrations here. So whenever a point load comes, you have to just do the algebraic addition. So in general, we will be writing work potential as U transpose into P. Directly we will be writing it as U transpose into P. So this is how we will be writing all the three work potentials for all the three different loads, that is surface force, body force and point load. So this is how we need to calculate the work potentials. So in the next class we will be using these basic equations and we will try to find out the practical problems. We solve the spring problems. See, one more thing you need to remember, the work potential will be always negative. The work potential will be always negative because the work is done by the system, on the system. The work is done on the system by the external force. So you have to take always a negative parameter. So whatever the difference which is remaining, the strain energy minus work potential, whatever is remaining, should be nearly equal to 0. Then only I can tell that the body is in static equilibrium. Otherwise I can't tell the body is in static equilibrium, and I can't calculate the displacements unless they are in equilibrium position. Okay, I hope it is clear. In the next class we will be applying these different strain energies and work potentials on the problems, and we'll try to calculate the displacement of the body. Thank you.